iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz.
Let's go back like a little bit further. Let's pull the thread back a little bit further. I had to get to the Jimmy Awards, I had to win a Roger Rees Award, which is the New York sort of smaller one. There's like 50 of them around the country. And I had to get nominated for that. And to do that, I had to do Catch Me If You Can at my high school, where I played Frank Jr., the Leo DiCaprio role in the movie. And to do that, I had to have a teacher who believed in me enough to cast me in that and to even do the show in the first place. I begged her to do it. I thought we had the people for it. And by the people, I mean there were 12 of us and 3 folding chairs. It was like a very tiny production that just friends and family saw. And all of a sudden, it is the reason why I'm sitting here with you today. Nothing. If Dear Evan Hansen hadn't existed at that time and the casting directors were there at that moment, I would have never been on Broadway, or would have at least taken a lot longer. It certainly wouldn't have been the path that got me to be here sitting across from Joanna Gleason and Janine Sorrellis in this beautiful play. I mean, the challenges were endless, but that's sort of what made it so special, is that Dear Evan Hansen is a musical about a kid who just doesn't know what's going on inside of him, and playing him every night was a kid who did not know what was going on inside of him, as all 16-year-olds are. So it was an insecure time. It was a scary time. It was a beautiful and fulfilling time. I was in school. I was managing friendships and relationships and family and grief, and also then getting to do this thing that I just loved doing every day and discovered so much about myself in doing. So we'd spend another hour talking about the challenges, but all of that is what made it probably the most significant job I'll ever have. Yes, so Joshua Harmon is a real-life brilliant playwright who has written many a great play. This one is very personal. It's about his life. I play Joshua, a version of Joshua. And in the real world, his grandmother commissioned him, basically, to write a play about his family. How do you begin to do that when everyone in your family has different opinions about each other, about their relationships, different views of the same thing? That's what this play gets into. So it's just me as Joshua, Janine Sorrellis as my mother, and Joanna Gleason as my grandmother, the 3 of us trying to figure this out together as we sort of conjure the ghost of my grandmother. It's amazing. Great theater is about asking questions and not providing answers, getting into a room and asking questions that can't be answered in a sentence and can't even really be asked in a sentence. You need a play to ask it. This is a play. This is a proper play. We are just the 3 of us up there, no gimmicks, no bells and whistles, just making this thing together and bringing the 150 people in the audience. It's a small, gorgeous, intimate house into the asking of that question together. And that doesn't stop. We're doing this now for a couple months, and we just get to keep asking the question in new, deeper ways. I also get to talk to the audience a lot. I have a real relationship with the audience every night, which is really alive and really fun to do. And then, of course, Joanna Gleason and Janine Sorrellis are just phenomenal. And they bring me down to earth in such a beautiful way. I just look at them and I'm good. I mean, let's throw Trip Coleman and Josh Harmon in there. We were just building this thing together. We had 3 weeks of rehearsal, but it all went so fast because we were just moving. We were just seeing where our bodies took us and how we wanted to tell the story. We're sort of jumping in and out of a lot of different moments in time, different conversations on the phone, in person, and we know exactly where we are. It could be so muddy, but it's not, because we worked so hard to know exactly the context of each moment that we're just sort of dipping our toes into. So that table work was just really, really a treat for my brain. It's amazing. It's amazing to have all of our hands on the wheel and also grabbing at it. You know, we're each trying to get control back from each other. This play is with a lot of love, a power struggle, which is, I think, a nice way to describe a family. My family, there's like a lot. My family and Josh's family are very, very different. My grandparents died when I was pretty young, so I didn't get the same relationship to them that Joshua did, which is beautiful. He had this long, beautiful relationship with his grandparents. So, and there was not a lot of, my mom also loved her parents, so there wasn't a ton of he said, she said. But there is always a feeling that we have something to give our family, and if they would just read this book or go to therapy or talk to this person or investigate this thing or say this thing out loud, let's just have a conversation. And maybe we're right, maybe we're wrong. Most of the time we're just stubborn. And that's what this play is Josh doing that for himself in the writing of it, wanting to investigate this feeling of his, this question that he has, and wanting to rope his mother into the asking of that, even though she doesn't really want to. So in what I hope people take away is that our time is short and our relationships are precious and we are very, very small, and love and life and family is actually really, at the end of the day, very simple. Or at least it can be. I start the play sitting with a notebook, writing in a notebook, and he has written in that notebook pages and pages of notes, just ideas. Some of them, one is 2 full pages of every supporting actress Oscar winner in the 1990s and what he thinks about them. Because that's Josh, is just having these opinions about culture and his relationships to his family. Some of them are just more intimate. I don't want to talk about them, but there are some beautiful things that he has written me to imbue me with his essence. So it was never intimidating. He was always really wonderful and supportive and asking me what I need to play him better. And he's put so much of himself into the play that the answer is there's not much more I need. It's all there. I mean, when you replace, there's, depending on the company, depending on the director, depending on the show, they'll say, yes, make it your own. Of course, we don't want you to do an impression of the guy that came before you, but you do have to stand here. And you do have to move your hand in this way. And you do have to say this line in this way because we've been doing this for a while and we know what works. But you don't get to be a part of the discovery of what works, which, if it were you at the beginning, you'd discover a bunch of entirely different things. So to be a part of that part of the process and have such amazing collaborators in Janine and Joanna and Tripp and Joshua, where I got to have my input and everybody did, the best idea could have come from any one of us. That was incredibly fulfilling and makes it that much more fulfilling to do every day that we all got to be a part of the architecture. Theater. I mean, I prefer theater. I prefer theater so much. I love the ritual. I love being stuck in New York and living your life and then showing up every day and sharing it with a new group of people. I love doing film. I do. I love the people that I meet doing film. And it's very immediate, actually. But you show up and you do it a couple times and then it's done and you have no control over it. In theater, you're your own editor, and that's really rewarding to say every day, I'm going to try again, I'm going to try again, I'm going to try again. Theater is my favorite. Voice acting I'm still new to, but it is really, really fun. It's really fun. You know, there are a lot of actors, I think, who don't enjoy watching themselves in films. I don't mind, because it happened, it's done, I've had to release it. With theater, you just keep it inside. It's not like you're attached to it. You release what happened the day before, and now today, we're going to try again. As opposed to film where I'm like, yeah, I guess I did that a while ago, and that's the take they decided to pick, and great. I have no say in any of that. But in theater, I'm like, I don't like how I said this, how I did this one scene. Tomorrow, that's what I'm going to focus on. So there's been some B-roll and stuff of our production, clips of different scenes, and I just can't watch any of it because I have to do it again tomorrow. You know what I mean? It gives life to do on stage. Oh yeah, I feel like there's like 3 things just rush into my brain. There is no limit to how hard you can work, that as long as you want to. Your desire to do it has to be greater than your fear of doing it, so just keep going, and that continues to be true for me. It's the reason I'm here, and it's what I'm continuing to do, is just trying to be better. There's also no limit to how you can be, and that's the only thing that's going to get you anywhere, rather than trying to be anybody else. Even in this, I'm playing Joshua, and there's elements of him that I'm adopting, but I have to do the thing that only I can do. So find the thing that only you can do and do it. And then there's no limit to how kind you can be, and that's going to get you a lot farther than you think too. Those 3 things, I think you're pretty unstoppable.
iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz.